cars were added in China alone in 2010. 10 million cars, just in one country, in 1 year. So that's using up a lot of oil. And those numbers are only going to get bigger over time as places like China and India get wealthier. They're going to want to buy cars like we do, and they're going to want to fill them up like we do, and that's going to drive up demand. So what does this mean for us? What does this mean for America? It means that anybody who tells you that we can just drill our way out of this problem does not know what they're talking about, or they're not telling you the truth. One or the other. Here's another way to think about it. The United States consumes more than 20% of the world's oil, but we only have 2% of the world's oil reserves. 20% we use, we only produce 2%. And no matter what we do, it's not going to get much above 3%. So we're still going to have this huge shortfall. That's why if we really want energy security and energy independence, we've got to start looking at how we use less oil and use other energy sources that we can renew and that we can control, so we are not subject to the whims of what's happening in other countries. We have to keep developing new technology that helps us use less energy. We've got to keep relying on American know-how and ingenuity that comes from places like this one, Nashua Community College. That's our future. That's exactly the path that we've been taking these last 3 years. Because of the investments we've made, the use of clean, renewable energy in this country has nearly doubled. And thousands of Americans have jobs because of it. We're taking every possible action to develop a near 100-year supply of natural gas, which releases fewer carbons. Now that's something that experts believe will support more than 600,000 jobs by the end of the decade. Our cooperation with the private sector has positioned this country to be the world's leading manufacturer of high-tech batteries that will power the next generation of American cars. And after 3 decades of doing nothing, we put in place fuel economy standards that will make sure our cars average nearly 55 miles per gallon by the middle of the next decade. That's nearly double what we have today. And that, by the way, applies not just to cars, it applies to light trucks, and now it's going to apply to heavy trucks as well. So that means that every time you fill up, you can think to yourself, you know what, I won't have to fill up again for 2 weeks instead of 1 week. Yeah, that's worth applauding. Because what that means is that'll save the typical family more than $8,000 at the pump. And it means that this country will reduce our oil consumption by more than 2 million barrels a day, which means we can continue to see a decline in how much imported oil we need. And that's good for our national security, that's good for our economy, and it's good for our environment. So that's the strategy we've got to pursue. But we've got to do more. We've got to do more even faster. We've got to keep investing in developing every available type of American-made energy. And this means that we've got to set some priorities. We've got to make some choices. First, while there are no short-term silver bullets when it comes to gas prices, I've directed my administration to look for every single area where we can make an impact and help consumers. From helping to relieve bottlenecks in the places like the one we've got in Oklahoma, to making sure speculators aren't taking advantage of what's going on in the oil markets. And we're going to just keep on announcing steps in the coming weeks. Every time we find something that can provide a little bit of relief right now, we're going to do it. But over the long term, an all of the above strategy requires the right incentives. And here's one of the best examples. Right now, $4 billion of your tax dollars, $4 billion, subsidizes the oil industry every year. $4 billion. Now, these companies are making record profits right now. Tens of billions of dollars a year. Every time you go to the gas tank, or fill up your gas tank, they're making money. Every time. Now, does anyone really think that Congress should give them another $4 billion this year? Of course not. It's outrageous. It's inexcusable. And I'm asking Congress, eliminate this oil industry giveaway right away. I want them to vote on this in March. Congress on record. You can stand with the oil companies, or you can stand up for the American people. You can keep subsidizing a fossil fuel that's been getting taxpayer dollars for a century, or you can place your bets on a clean energy future. So I'm asking everybody here today, anybody who's watching at home, let your member of Congress know where you stand. Will you do that? Because I know where I stand, New Hampshire. I know where I stand on this. You know, we want to have successful oil companies that are able to get the oil that we have in our country, but we also understand that our future requires us to make investments in clean, renewable energies, and that has to start now. We can't wait. We can't wait until gas is skyrocketed more and people are desperate. We need to start making those investments now. And most of you guys agree. That's why we're putting the time. That's why folks here at this community college are learning about building cars and repairing cars that use less oil. Cars that are powered with alternative fuels. Like natural gas. That's why the city of Nashua is purchasing a new fleet of trash trucks that run on natural gas. They're going to go cleaner, they're going to last longer, they're going to be cheaper to fill up. I saw one. It was a good looking truck. And it put a smile on the mayor's face because she knows she's saving money. She's saving taxpayer money. Good job, Mayor. So that's part of what that $4 billion that's going to oil companies right now, that's where it could be going, to help cities like this one convert their fleets to fuel-efficient cars and trucks, to help private sector companies, big companies like UPS or Federal Express convert their fleets. That can save us money. In fact, since we announced the National Clean Fleets Partnership last year, the companies interested in transitioning their fleets have tripled. And that's part of why this chart is going down. And I'm proud to say that the federal government is leading by example. One thing the federal government has a lot of is cars. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but we have a lot of cars. And I've directed every department, every agency, every single one, to make sure that by 2015, 100% of the vehicles that the federal government buys are fuel-efficient cars and trucks. Let's save us money. So this is our future. This is the ultimate solution to our energy challenge. You know, it's not going to be a smooth, easy ride. Some of the clean energy technologies that are discovered, they won't pan out. Some companies will fail. There's going to be experiments and research that take time. But as long as I'm president, I will not walk away from the promise of clean energy because our future depends on it. I'm not going to cede the wind or the solar or the battery industry to China or Germany because some politicians in Washington refuse to make the same commitment here in the United States of America. this kindness. I'm going to continue to do whatever I can to develop every source of American energy to make sure that 3 years from now, our dependence on foreign oil is even lower, to make sure that our